Story 1. Love mine. It is a Fiat 500 electric vehicle. It is perfect for what we use it for. We charge at home and have never needed to use a public charger. If car companies could improve their focus and just make affordable electric vehicles with basic trim instead of luxury electric vehicles, I think a lot of people would switch over. Story 2. More than 7 years. Never going back. You cannot beat the total cost of ownership, low maintenance, and fun-to-drive aspects. Range anxiety is real. I had a couple of close calls early on, but charger availability and reliability have improved significantly in the past 2 years to the point where it is not an issue for our family. Story 3. Not quite 5 years yet, but my only maintenance is brakes and tires. I never stop at a gas station because my car refuels in my garage overnight. No more running late for work because I have to stop for gas. No oil changes, fuel filters, spark plugs, water pumps, timing belts, radiator fluid, and so on. I love it. Story 4. Love it. Quiet, with fast and smooth acceleration, handles well, and it is cheaper to run than an all-gasoline vehicle. I have had mine for a bit over 7 years now. Technically, mine is a plug-in hybrid Chevrolet Volt, but the gasoline engine is for range extension and hardly gets used. I run on just battery power at least 95% of the time. My next car will likely be 100% electric. Story 5. I have had electric vehicles since 2018. A 2016 Nissan Leaf, a 2021 Kia Niro, and now a 2025 Kia Niro. Thankfully, I have a charger at home, which is incredibly convenient and affordable. I wake up daily with approximately 450 kilometers or 279 miles of range. I have taken many road trips over 6 hours with careful planning, but mostly it is my commuter and local adventure car. The vehicle is smooth, quiet, and requires minimal maintenance. I love it. Story 6. Love it. I have zero interest in going back to gasoline. In those 5 years, electric vehicles have only gotten better and better. Story 7. I have a Chevrolet Bolt. Before that, I had a Chevrolet Volt. Before that, a Toyota Prius. I am 12 years into electric vehicles and over 20 years into hybrid and electric vehicles. Electric vehicles are fantastic for my needs. Cars are tools. Hammers are terrible for sanding wood. Buy the tool that works for the job you are doing. Are you commuting 20 to 30 miles a day, sometimes take a road trip, and have the ability to charge at home? An electric vehicle is a great tool. Do you take a long 300-plus mile road trip every week and live in an apartment with no good access to a charger? An electric vehicle is a terrible tool. Story 8. I bought a 2016 Nissan Leaf in early 2020 and drove it until someone rear-ended me and totaled it a few months ago. By the time I said goodbye, the range when fully charged was only about 50 miles, and that's if I stayed off the freeway. I really loved that car, and I would have driven it until the battery was completely flat if someone hadn't wrecked it for me. Even with a flat battery, it was appraised at almost $9,000, which unfortunately I put towards a hybrid replacement. I hate it. Going back to an internal combustion engine car after driving a full electric vehicle is the worst. Unfortunately, there were no electric vehicles with the options I wanted in my price range. Story 9. 3-year-old Kia EV6. Around 45,000 miles. Still gets 315 to 320 miles in the summer, about 280 miles in the dead of winter. My wife drives the older internal combustion engine vehicle and is mad at me pretty much every day because my car is head and shoulders more fun to drive and more convenient. The kids make fun of her for having to get gas. We will not own another gas-powered car. I live in Oregon, which has decent electric vehicle infrastructure, and we are probably getting on a plane for anything further than a 4 to 5 hour drive. With home charging, we figure it has saved us about $8,000 in gas versus electricity costs. If I can drive it 10 years, it will have paid for well over half the sticker price. The 12-volt battery did fail a little earlier than most I have had, about 2.5 years. I did not even know electric vehicles had them until that happened. I assumed they ran everything off the main battery. Replacing it was just like a regular car battery, not a huge deal. Story 10. It surprises me just how much common knowledge around electric vehicles is pure misinformation. For reference, we have a 2022 Tesla Model X. No, you don't have to replace the battery after 50,000 miles. We put that mileage on in the first year alone, and we are about to hit year 3 on the same battery that performs exactly as it did when we bought it. No, you don't need to sit at a gas station for 45 minutes a week to charge. You can get a home charger, and those 45-minute charges usually happen when you run the battery extremely low and want it charged extremely high, like during a road trip. If you drain the entire battery while on a road trip, you are more than likely ready for a long break. No, the battery does not drain sitting in the sun. No, it is not more expensive to run than a gasoline vehicle. We compared aggregate costs of fueling our gasoline vehicle and our electric vehicle in the first year and spent 51% less on the electric vehicle. I also see things in the news that take the effects of shipping and distributing the parts and claim it does much more harm to the environment. Just know that those ships will sail with or without the parts. The media does this to reduce the appeal of an electric vehicle to environmentalists. The parts are essentially catching a train. My only critique is that the back seats are extremely uncomfortable, but this could be resolved by making regular vehicles that run on electricity rather than this luxury appealing machine. I realized at the end of writing this comment that the question was about people who have had theirs for 5 years, not people who have had one in the past 5 years. I put a lot of effort into this comment, so I am going to leave it. Edit Tesla Model X, not Model Y. Story 11. I am on my second electric vehicle, and it is great. 10 years now. I do not see myself going back, but my wife has an internal combustion engine vehicle. Story 12. Tesla owner for 6 years. The battery capacity decay is overstated, but it is definitely real. As a daily driver and commuter car, I absolutely love it. As a road trip car, not a huge fan. Not having to pay for gas, oil changes, or freeze while pumping fuel in windy sub-zero temperatures is nice too. It also requires way less maintenance. I still had issues, but they were not functional issues, usually trim, accessory, or utility problems. If you have the old-style resistance cabin heater, it also drains your battery much more in the winter. Some may disagree, but I think the smart move is to buy a used electric vehicle daily driver. Electric vehicles also depreciate fast because of tax credits and it being a newer, rapidly advancing technology, and a comfortable internal combustion engine or hybrid car for road trips. Story 13, 3 years, so take it as you will. Around town is amazing with the 2022 Chevrolet Bolt EV utility vehicle. Road trips are a big no. Efficiency over 60 miles per hour plummets. You never know when you will find a charger. We are getting there, and some electric vehicles are much better. But overall, I love it. Charging at home is very cheap. No maintenance besides tires. Rides silently with instant power. Love it. Story 14. It's great, but it's still a somewhat niche market due to a couple of key factors. 1. The public electric vehicle charging network is riddled with issues. I could probably write an entire essay about everything that is wrong with the network that does not show up when you just try to map out a trip online. Also, if you are charging publicly, the cost is about the same or more than just filling up with gasoline. The only way to save money is to charge at home. Range is almost never as advertised, especially in winter and on the freeway. God help you if it is both. You could reasonably cut your range in half in those conditions when an internal combustion engine car would actually perform more efficiently than a typical city trip. Shout out to Kia for selling an electric vehicle that I can actually beat the estimate on. That being said, if you have a second car in the household for road trips, the money to invest in an electric vehicle, and a place to charge overnight, then I absolutely recommend them. The issues mentioned above are only relevant a few days a year for most people, and you will never need more than one large internal combustion engine car in a family to offset it unless you have a massive family or something. Story 15. 5 years is quite long for an electric vehicle. I am just at 4. Electric vehicles are superior to internal combustion engine vehicles 85% of the time, but they are not the answer to everything yet. For the average person living in a single-family home, electric vehicles are generally very good. If you live in an apartment, a city with on-street parking, do a lot of long-distance travel, or do a lot of towing, they can be problematic. Story 16. We have a 2020 Chevrolet Bolt and absolutely love it. My wife uses it to get to work and drives about 120 miles total in her commute. In the coldest days of winter, she may charge a bit before driving home. In the summer, we have plenty of range to drive around to kids' sports before plugging in again at night. I love how it handles. It's just fun, and we have saved a lot of money on fuel in that time, easily more than the purchase price. We are actually looking to get another electric vehicle later this year. We also have an internal combustion engine car, a Chevrolet Suburban, for long distances and when the whole family is going somewhere since there are too many to fit in the Bolt. Story 17 had a Model 3 for 5 years. It is the best type of commuter car to own if you have a stable source of electricity. The running costs were extremely cheap, and insurance rates were not much higher than a typical commuter car, with no maintenance to worry about. It became boring after the initial excitement of electric car torque. I traded it for a Mazda Miata because I enjoy driving more. Story 18. I had a Model 3 and loved it. It was a perfect pair with my wife's gasoline vehicle until it was not. My new job requires trips to an adjacent city, which is a 2-hour drive each way, a day trip. A charging stop would be required and is out of the way. Even though it is only 1 to 2 times per month, it became a major annoyance. We also had situations where I unexpectedly needed to drive further than the maximum range in a day. One time I was at a field trip, and my daughter hit her head and needed stitches. I made it to the hospital with 5% battery remaining. I traded it in about 2 months later. Hopefully, I will rejoin the electric vehicle users down the line, but maybe as a hybrid. Also, insurance was $2,500 a year on a basic rear-wheel drive model. It turns out that, along with the registration electric vehicle fee, it wiped out most of the gasoline savings. Story 19. 2020 Tesla Model 3 with full self-driving. I will never buy a car with an engine again. In 4.5 years, I have only added windshield washer fluid, changed wiper blades, and replaced tires once. Not even a squeak or rattle either. Charging in my driveway is equivalent to paying 90 cents per gallon for gasoline. The latest version of full self-driving is a true life hack. It went from being a little unpredictable and awkward to driving like a professional chauffeur. Super smooth and comfortable, even on long drives from New York to Pennsylvania or New Jersey. I just supervise with my arms comfortably on my armrests. Door to door without a single disengagement is now normal. I agree with other commenters. The amount of incorrect common knowledge from people who do not know what they are talking about is astounding. I am proud to know this is one of the most American-made cars, powered by American energy too. Story 20. I think it is important to remember that not everyone owns a single-family home where it is easy to simply charge a car overnight. The same could apply to condominiums or townhomes where you have your own garage or driveway. People do not always realize they communicate from a place of privilege. If you live in an apartment or a shared housing situation with multiple units sharing the same car spaces, electric vehicles do not make much sense until charging infrastructure improves. Like many people, if I were to buy an electric car, my only option would be to use a public charging station. That is not a convenient or time-effective solution. If I owned a house and could charge a car every night, choosing electric would be an easy decision. Story 21. It's frustrating to read people in these comments assuming everyone can have a charger at home. If you live in an apartment or condominium, that is often not true. Some buildings will allow and can support chargers, but many cannot or have limitations. Story 22. I own a 2012 Nissan Leaf. We bought it used after its first owner from Nissan's lease program. I drove it daily to work for 6 years until the pandemic. I now work from home. We also own an internal combustion engine vehicle. The battery capacity has reduced, but it gets us around for local errands. Driving it is a treat. It still handles like a dream and requires very little maintenance. My wife and I have been considering replacing the battery, probably around $8,000, though it's not urgent. All the telematics features are outdated, and I don't really miss them. I would like some features from newer vehicles, such as self-parking, adaptive cruise control, and Apple CarPlay, but we are very happy with it after 10 years. To me, it's just about the perfect vehicle, which, as an aside, is exactly what automakers fear. a vehicle that requires little maintenance and keeps owners satisfied. Story 23, haven't looked back. I will never go back to an internal combustion engine vehicle ever. My Tesla makes driving anything else feel outdated. Story 24, we started with a Chevrolet Volt in 2018, followed by a Chevrolet Bolt, Tesla Model 3, and then Volkswagen ID.4. After 2 years with the Volt, we spent the next 5 years with electric vehicles. At the end of that time, we realized that the Volt was a better, more useful car than any of our electric vehicles and purchased a Toyota Prius Prime. We are very happy to be back in a plug-in hybrid electric vehicle. Almost all driving is done on battery power charged from solar energy, but we never feel pressure to change our plans or route to accommodate the car. It just works no matter what we are doing and is unobtrusive. We never sit at charging stations waiting for an open stall and then wait longer for the car to charge. Our last tank of gas lasted 1,350 miles for an average of 162 miles per gallon. It is a car that does not require special planning or thought at all. It looks good, drives well, and performs its job without demanding anything from the owner or forcing us to sit in a Walmart parking lot or walk around Walmart for an extended period. It is a much better fit for my family than the electric vehicles we had. Story 25. The question narrows the answers to people who enjoy their electric vehicles. If they were not happy with them, there is a strong chance they would replace the vehicle within 5 years. Most, if not all, responses will be positive experiences with electric vehicle use. This is a typical selection bias. This does not invalidate anyone who shares their experience, but it is something to consider when deciding whether to get an electric vehicle. Story 26. I have had 2 electric vehicles. This is my second, and I got it in 2018. I love it and will never go back to a gasoline car. I have driven 200,000 kilometers in this car, and the battery capacity has decreased by about 8 or 9%, but it still has a range of 470 kilometers on a full charge. I still have the original brakes, and they are in good condition as I rarely use them. For reasons unrelated to the car, I no longer want to drive it and am waiting to replace it with a brand that better aligns with my values. Story 27. Bought a Tesla Model S in 2014. I would never go back to a gasoline car. However, I am not buying another Tesla due to negative reasons. Story 28. I did not like it. The range anxiety and poor winter performance were big issues. I kept it for 4 years and switched to a gasoline vehicle with no regrets. I will try again when more optimized heating systems and larger batteries are standard. Story 29. Just as a note to the original poster, there is a lot of inherent bias in this thread. People who bought an electric vehicle and disliked it will have sold it long before they reached the 5-year mark. Story 30. Owned for 8 years. Hate it. Absolutely hate it. Awful in Minnesota winter. Range is poor and there are always expensive problems to fix. To top it off, people keyed it because of Elon. Story 31. Other than the fact that Elon Musk's behavior has changed, I have really enjoyed my Tesla Model 3. I have had no issues since I got it in 2018. Story 32. I could never imagine driving something as inconvenient and slow as a gasoline car again. I borrowed my mom's sport utility vehicle the other day, and just having to take time to refuel was a pain. When you wake up every day to a full tank, it just feels so slow. It really makes you feel like you're driving a car on a road full of horses when you get back to the electric vehicle. Story 33. I love everything about it except the chief executive officer of the company did a ketamine-fueled fascist salute at his political rally, which was disappointing. Also, I spent $10,000 on the automated driving option, which I never use, so that was money wasted. Other than those 2 things, everything else is excellent. When we first got it, we took it on a 6,000-mile adventure to Yellowstone and back. Passed with flying colors, and we have had no complaints at all. We frequently take it on long journeys. The next one planned is a trip to New Orleans and back, and another to Oklahoma City for Thanksgiving. Story 34. Almost 6 years and 140,000 kilometers for me. I would never go back to a combustion engine vehicle. It is quicker, easier to use, more fun to drive, and requires no routine maintenance. The biggest daily benefit I find is that I do not have to stop at the fuel station on the way home from work when all I want to do is go home. I used to put it off until the fuel light had been on for several kilometers. Now I just pull up at home, get out, and plug it in on my way inside. Story 35. Despite being recalled multiple times, I really like my Ford Fusion Energy. I have had it for 10 years now. There have been no problems with the batteries at all. It still runs great. Story 36. I have owned a first and second generation Nissan Leaf. I love having an electric vehicle, but I think Nissan cut too many corners to make an affordable car, and the battery pack is very vulnerable. My next electric vehicle will have a better cooling system. Story 37. 5 years with my Tesla Model 3. The only maintenance I have had to do is change filters, wiper blades, and fill washer fluid. I also really love camp mode. Story 38. Some updates reduce reliability. Tesla Model X 90D. Installed a new update one day before going on a short holiday. Parked the car at airport parking with 48% charge. The battery was fully drained to 0% when I returned 4 days later due to a small software bug. Also, it is a soulless driving experience. It does a good job as a transporter from point A to point B, but it is not fun to drive. It is definitely cheaper to drive an electric vehicle per mile than a petrol-based vehicle here in the Netherlands. Story 39. Charging at home feels like having a full tank every morning. I did not realize how much stress that alone took away. Story 40, 3.5 years, but it is great. Opel Corsa E, Sports Edition, approximately 350 kilometers range. Acceleration is impressive, especially coming from an old diesel. Felt like I was transported to a new millennium. We have solar panels, so the whole experience is almost free after the initial cost. I do experience range anxiety, but that is more my problem than the cars. Story 41. Electric vehicles are basically dead on arrival in Southern California if the new tax bill passes. An additional $250 annual registration fee, indexed to inflation, and a $1,000 to $2,000 premium increase to your car insurance make a cheap internal combustion engine car the better deal, unfortunately. Story 42. Never going back to internal combustion engine cars. I have a point-of-service Nissan Leaf, and I live in a small town in Yorkshire with no off-street parking. I'm still never going back. Even with public chargers and not using the Tesla standard plug that all cars and chargers seem to have these days, it's still 1,000 times better than petrol. I don't feel guilty about adding to air pollution. There's no noise when idling, and I just generally love it. Planning to upgrade in October to something with more range and easier charging but still electric. Story 43. Owned a Tesla Model 3 since 2018. It has its issues being a Tesla, but overall it has been easy to maintain and has held up well. The battery still has almost the same capacity as new, and it still has one of the best ranges for an electric vehicle its size. Plus, my electricity company offers discounted rates overnight, making it very cheap to charge. Story 44. 2018 Toyota Prius Prime in Vancouver, when gas was $2.41 per liter. The money I saved on gas all year basically paid off the insurance plus some change. It is pretty sweet. Story 45. I will never go back. I have a plug-in hybrid because 10 years ago there were not many public charging stations, but my next car will be fully electric for sure. The next step for me is solar panels. Story 46. My thoughts after owning an electric vehicle since 2019. They are currently cars for privileged people who live in homes with driveways. If you cannot charge it daily at home, it will be inconvenient unless you can charge it at work every day. However, this may limit your job options if you need to relocate. If you park on the street or live in an apartment complex, a small hybrid vehicle would make more sense. Running a 45-minute errand weekly to a direct current fast charging station does not sound enjoyable. 7 minutes to get there, 30 minutes charging, 7 minutes returning home. Most electric vehicles have around 200 miles of range, and direct current fast charging typically only charges up to 80%. This means you would be living within a 10 to 80% charge range. For an apartment dweller, that 200 miles would effectively be about 140 miles. You might need to charge twice a week instead of once, which sounds inconvenient. Story 47. I don't have that experience personally, but I'm a mechanic and car enthusiast, and my brother has had an electric vehicle, an Audi e-tron, since early 2020. Before that, he had a plug-in hybrid, a 2017 Audi A3 e-tron. He lives in a fairly small town in Northwest Ohio. I installed the electrical outlet and wiring in his garage. It's literally a standard kitchen range outlet, 50 amp, 240 volts. Nothing special, and you can install lower capacity outlets or just use something existing if necessary. There are devices available that allow you to use your existing electric dryer outlet. It's a box that plugs into the outlet and has two outlets on it, one for your dryer and one for your electric vehicle supply equipment. It automatically switches off the electric vehicle supply equipment outlet anytime you're using your dryer. As for how the car fits into his daily life, it has worked great. His car has a range of around 220 miles, depending on conditions and usage. His commute isn't very long, and he doesn't charge every night. He also generally charges to a maximum of 80%, which can be set up in the car with no babysitting required because it's easier on the battery. If he's taking a long trip, he sets it to charge to 100% the night before, then goes on his trip. Once a year, he and his wife usually take a trip of about 500 to 550 miles one way, and they take his car, not her gasoline-powered car. There are plenty of fast charging stations along the way, almost all located where there are plenty of options for food and amenities. By the time he has gone about 200 miles, he's ready for a break anyway. Fast charging takes around 30 minutes, so by the time he's done eating, the car is ready to go again. He does wish he had a bit more range so he could do the trip with only one stop if he wanted to. He has ordered a new electric vehicle with about a 330-mile range and will trade in the Audi for that. He kept the Audi longer than planned. He originally leased it, expecting that by the time his lease ended, technology would have advanced enough to want to upgrade. However, the pandemic caused new cars, especially high-end ones with lots of electronics, to become scarce. So, he bought out the lease and decided to buy the new car instead of leasing so he can upgrade whenever he decides it's worth it. Overall, he will tell you that it's nice not to have to stop for refueling except on long trips, and the energy cost savings are significant. It works out to roughly the equivalent of paying $1 per gallon of gasoline. Also, the car is a mid-size SUV that handles like a sports sedan. One of the hidden benefits of an electric vehicle is that the heaviest part, the battery pack, is mounted under the floor, giving it a very low center of gravity. It handles like it's on rails. Story 48. I bought my Tesla in 2018, before the issues began. It is still far ahead of other cars in terms of user experience. The walk-away phone key experience and built-in cameras should be in every car. The maintenance has been negligible, and the charging cost is a fraction of my partner's annual fuel expenses. It would be really difficult to go back to an internal combustion engine or fob/key-based car. Story 49. Going on 7 years for me. I will never buy another gasoline car. Electric vehicles are cheaper to maintain and more fun to drive. You may not realize it now, but your gasoline car smells bad. They are unpleasant, and you really start to notice once you have been away from the petrochemicals for a while. Story 50. A lot cheaper to run than a gasoline car. The ride is smoother and quieter. It is strange driving gasoline cars now since they are always accelerating. Electric vehicles are always stopping for regeneration. No wasted acceleration. I probably spend $20 a month to charge at home. Story 51. It is great for trips around town. Anything within a 60-minute drive is ideal. Handling is excellent with instant power and minimal maintenance. It is not suitable for anything beyond trips around town. It never achieves the mileage claimed, and its performance in cold or freezing weather is very poor. I took a longer trip once, and that was enough to convince me not to try it again. There is too much hassle finding and waiting for charging. Story 52. I have a 2020 Chevrolet Bolt. It is fine. It is a car that I charge at home and does not need gasoline. I had a 2012 Nissan Leaf before that. People are overly emotional about their mode of transportation. Most people do not drive more than 40 miles in a day. Why do I care about having the ability to drive a car further than that? I can rent one when I need one. Story 53. Not for us. If literally using as a city car and never wanting to do anything further, including random trips away for the day, so perhaps as a second commuting-only car, then fine. But if you forget to charge it, you are in trouble if you need to go somewhere fast. The number of times my wife has used my car as a result is high. If you run out of battery on the road, you are in serious trouble. The mileage is, not surprisingly, not as advertised, and regardless of the heating not being on, in cold weather the battery usage drops to almost half. I don't think the technology is nearly ready, and I don't understand how wider implementation will ever work for the masses for as long as you need to connect the car. Hybrid, to me, seems like the sensible way forward. Story 54. I will go against the grain here, but plugging your car in every day is very annoying. I prefer refueling with gasoline once every few weeks. Story 55. Charging at home versus driving to a gas station is a convenience similar to streaming movies instead of driving to a video rental store. Story 56. I will never own another gasoline car. I started with a Model 3 in 2018. When we wanted a bigger car for the family, we chose Ford with the Mach-E because even back then I was getting strange vibes from Tesla and its leadership. As soon as an electric truck was available, I swapped out my gasoline truck and have not looked back. Yes, I tow. I also live in Alberta and deal with cold winters. I am a geologist who works on remote drilling rigs. Story 57. There is a lot of controversy around Elon Musk and Tesla. However, I could not go back. It is inexpensive to operate, enjoyable to drive, and full self-driving is incredible. I have tried the competition, but in my opinion, no one else compares. Story 58. Just hit 4 years and 75,000 miles on my Chevrolet Bolt. The only maintenance I have paid for is new tires. I replaced the factory tires with better ones and got winter tires on a spare set of wheels. The car itself is great. I love the torque and how responsive it is, much lighter than a Tesla. The biggest downside is that Bolts have slow 50 kilowatt direct current charging. However, I get free electricity at work anyway. Winter range is about 50% of summer range, but it is manageable. I used to have a 100-mile commute, now 50, and it works well for me. Story 59. Absolutely love it. Never going back. I can barely make 140 kilometers from 80 to 20%, but it fits 2 bikes and suits my lifestyle impeccably. It is affordable enough that I paid for it in 3 years, 23,000 Canadian dollars, and even when I charged on the streets, it was not that bad. It comes down to infrastructure. Vote to get people who believe in it and will install a large number of chargers. Where I live, I have multiple fast chargers on every major highway every 50 kilometers. This is the only way to make this work. Story 60. 6 years and 296,000 kilometers. I would never go back. I am still on my original brake pads. I hate being in gasoline cars now. The vibration, the noise, the lag, and the smells annoy me. Driving that far in my old vehicle would have cost me around $80,000. Less than $15,000 in my electric vehicle. Story 61. Love mine. Almost 700 horsepower. Super quick zooming around town. Free supercharging. Never needed any maintenance except cabin filters. Plenty of space for the family. Regenerative braking. Quiet as a mouse, but I also have a V8 AMG for when I want the vrooms. Would purchase again. Story 62. I have a 2019 Volkswagen e-Golf. The battery is small and the range is not the best available, but for my needs, it gets me where I need to go on a single charge. For the first 2 years, I used public charging stations, mostly level 2, but in a pinch, I used a fast charger. Luckily, I am able to charge at work now for free. Overall, sometimes charging can be a hassle, but the money saved on maintenance and gasoline is significant in my situation. Story 63. 12 years for my family started with a Nissan Leaf. Then we had a BMW i3, Chevrolet Bolt, and our current car is a 4-year-old Tesla Model 3 that I plan to keep for another 4 years. I will always have an electric vehicle going forward. I love charging at home on a 220-volt outlet, starting the day with a heated car inside the garage. leaving the heat or air conditioning on while I run into the store, and the near zero maintenance required. The Tesla has only needed a set of tires, cabin air filters, and a set of wipers replaced in 4 years. Story 64. Over 5 years with my battery electric vehicle and 3 years prior with a fuel cell electric vehicle. I never want an internal combustion engine car again. Daily driving, road trips halfway across the country, camping, it is my first choice. We still have an old Prius, but its primary use is when we need the cargo space. The future electric vehicle sport utility vehicle will replace that. Story 65. I love it. I have a Chevrolet Bolt and was able to take advantage of the electric vehicle credit before it ended. I drive 45 minutes each way to work and charge my car once a week. Story 66. Best car I have ever had, and I kept my last car for 28 years. I would never go back. It is more an appliance than a typical car. Just plug it in and it works. Story 67. Can't go back. Starting every day with a full tank of fuel is just too good. I've never been late for needing gas, and I've never had to stop at a sketchy gas station in the middle of the night. Not to mention, it is cheaper to run with no oil changes, basically nothing but tires. Now that the car is paid off, it feels like a cheat code. Admittedly, yes, it was expensive up front. Story 68. I have had my Tesla since 2016 and still love driving it every day. Maintenance has been minimal, mostly limited to swapping tires. Range anxiety is definitely real, but that has mostly been resolved with the wide range of charging locations throughout the country. Story 69. I will always own an electric vehicle. I have a very short-range electric vehicle currently, and it is my favorite car I have ever owned by a large margin. A higher-range electric vehicle would be even better, which I will get when I pass this one on to a child. Maintenance is incredibly minimal. It is quick and quiet. I can pick up my children and sit in an idling car with the air conditioning or heat on, not feeling wasteful. Everything about it feels like a better and more comfortable drive. Story 70. Great. Highly recommend to anyone who has access to home charging. The only drawback is road trips. Tesla Autopilot specifically has spoiled me. As much as I would like to switch to a different electric vehicle next time, it would be hard to give that up. Story 71. I have a Kia EV6. I love it. It is very fast and economical to run. It charges while I sleep. It is hands down the best car I have ever had. I would buy another. Story 72. Cannot go back to internal combustion engine vehicles. Charging at home is very convenient. Instant torque and regenerative braking are excellent. Story 73. 2017 Chevrolet Bolt. 180,000 miles. Absolutely love it. My commute is 160 miles per day, and it is perfect for that. It is slightly inconvenient for longer road trips, but I will accept the inconvenience once or twice per year for the very convenient daily commute. Story 74. 10 years with electric vehicles and love it. Bought a second one and love it even more. No issues at all with local or long-distance driving. Tesla chargers are everywhere, and if your car takes one, you are set. Did my own work on gasoline cars, and electric vehicles require almost nothing. Only rotate tires, lubricate the brake caliper pins, the brakes never wear out, and replace wipers. Haven't owned a gasoline car for years and likely never will again. Story 75. Plug-in hybrid electric vehicle 3 times and electric vehicle Mekong owner. For daily driving and long-distance commutes within your range, it is wonderful and impossible to ever go back to internal combustion engine. The noise, vibration, and harshness, smoothness, power, and torque are just unrivaled. There are also cost savings if you have home charging combined with solar energy. I am not an internal combustion engine hater. I still have an internal combustion engine, and my weekend car will probably always be an internal combustion engine. Sitting on the curb waiting for your kids or to pick up in 36 degrees Celsius heat without your engine on, air conditioning blasting, and music playing is just nice. Story 76. 7 years with the Model 3 has been a great investment. It is fun to drive, and I have taken it on multiple 1,000-mile road trips. Tesla vehicles can charge almost everywhere. I have solar panels, so my fuel is free as well. My friend has a Chevrolet Volt with a 150-mile range and absolutely dislikes it. Changing charging networks is very frustrating. Story 77. I have an electric golf car. I truly love it. It has cost me nothing for maintenance, almost nothing to charge, and I enjoy driving it. I charge it at home overnight and never have to visit a gas station. I rarely have to use public charging. It has been great. Story 78. It hasn't caught on fire yet. It is a 2018 electric vehicle that has not needed its entire battery replaced. The battery capacity has dropped by maybe 2% due to battery degradation. I do not care about petrol prices anymore. Anywhere from $2 to $2.50 per liter. Story 79. It is a far superior driving experience. The small inconveniences on road trips are outweighed by the day-to-day ease of use. The garage smells nice. Driving is quick and smooth. Maintenance is minimal. Costs are low. I have owned a Tesla and a Genesis. I do not expect to own an internal combustion engine car ever again. Story 80. 2012 Nissan Leaf that indicated about 72 miles range when we bought it in 2017. It now sometimes shows over 60 miles in the summer. I trust it for 40 miles with no problem. To some people, that sounds unusable. For us, it's perfect. We plug it into a regular 110-volt outlet and trickle charge it every other day. Our commutes, including childcare, are all city miles. Round trip under 10 miles. 99% of our daily driving is short trips. We have a gas midsize SUV as a second car for road trips or when we need to use two cars at once. We have put 30,000 miles on the Leaf and 25,000 on the SUV. It's absolutely fantastic, and I love how convenient and cheap the Leaf is. We never get gas, oil changes, or anything else. We just had a light come on reminding us to rotate tires. We did buy tires for it, but otherwise the only maintenance is air filter and windshield wipers. The reality is that more companies should sell cheaper electric vehicles with small batteries. I would guess over 75% of my neighbors would be able to use our car the same way we do. Not everyone needs a huge Rivian with 300 miles of range. We have even taken it on short road trips to a vacation house that has a charger, and we bring it on the ferry. I wish that some American company would put together an affordable $10,000 electric vehicle with lower range. Some of us just love going from point A to point B efficiently and safely. Maybe twice ever in the last 8 years, a potential change of plans popped up, and I have said, I can't do that, we are in the Leaf and don't have the range right now. Story 81. It's great. I have a Tesla P100D and no problems, except one issue with the drivetrain, but that part had a 10-year factory guarantee. The battery has 70% of the mileage stated by Tesla, but the navigation calculates with the actual battery capacity. 200,000 miles on the odometer now, and it is still great. Story 82. It's amazing. Our family only has electric cars at this point, and I love not worrying about gas stations and oil changes. Story 83. I drove a 2015 Nissan Leaf for about 6 years and have had a Chevrolet Volt hybrid for 2 years. I love the Leaf for the most part. Zippy, fun to drive, comfortable cabin, almost zero maintenance. As it aged and lost some range, it reached the point where I couldn't reliably make a round trip to my favorite recreation areas anymore, about 60 miles round trip. If I wanted to go to the major city nearest to me, about 40 miles one way, I had to plan ahead to locate a charging station and deal with the uncertainty of whether a charger would actually be functional and available. Cold and windy weather was also a problem. More than once I had to wait outside at a charging station in sub-zero temperatures to get enough charge to make it home because the battery lost range so quickly in the cold. That said, if I were part of a multi-car household, I would absolutely have kept the Leaf as a daily errand driver. With the Volt, I rarely use the internal combustion engine, but it's great to have when I need it. The driving experience and cabin trim are not as nice as the Leaf, so I won't keep it forever, but it has been trouble-free. Whether I go with a plug-in hybrid or all-electric for my next car depends on how the market and technology evolve, but I am definitely a satisfied electric vehicle owner. Story 84. I started in 2016 with a Nissan Leaf. The range on that vehicle and the infrastructure at the time did give me range anxiety. I am driving a 2020 Leaf with twice the range and improved infrastructure. Range anxiety is no longer an issue. I prefer the experience of driving electric vehicles. I will not be driving an internal combustion engine vehicle again. Story 85. I love it. What is a gas station? It also drives better and smoother. No downshifting is required to speed up on the highway. It is not the best for long road trips. It wears out tires quickly. It is expensive to insure. Story 86. Not quite 5 years, but I have had a Tesla Model 3 for 4 years now. It has done 78,000 kilometers, approximately 60,000 miles. I still absolutely love it. My wife and I often compete to use it. We have a similarly sized gasoline car that was built in 2015 but has only done 66,000 kilometers. That shows how little we use it. The Tesla is used for everything, including every long road trip we take. Story 87. Get one. I have bought only electric vehicles for about 10 years now. Nothing could ever get me to consider an internal combustion engine car again. Story 88. 2017 Model 3. Just passed 200,000 miles last month. It has been a good car. Tesla has issues with service, but the car overall has been good to me. I do not know if I will go back to driving an internal combustion engine vehicle as a daily driver. Story 89. It's amazing. I have a Chevrolet Bolt that I own for my small business as a fleet vehicle. We use that car heavily, and it just keeps going. It is one of the best cars I have ever owned and by far the best value. Story 90. 2019 Audi electric car. I love my car. I charge it at home and rarely have to use a fast charging station. But for road trips, we take my husband's car. Story 91. Not sold on going 100% electric vehicle only. I have bought my second Tesla, but I will still keep an internal combustion engine vehicle around as an alternative source. Battery technology is still in its early stages in my opinion. Having said that, there is a lot of potential with them. I really like my Tesla. Story 92. Love it. Never had a problem with it. Gasoline prices are irrelevant. We have a second gasoline car for longer trips. The electric vehicle is our town car. It makes it to the city and back okay if you limit where you go. Story 93. I bought a Tesla in 2021 and told myself that I would not keep it for more than 5 years due to concerns about battery life. My car has lost about 10% of its total charging capacity, so I plan to trade it in next year. Tesla service is not available near me. It is about 1 hour and 30 minutes away. They do not always address your concerns and do not stock parts. People say they will send a technician to you, but they will not unless you are about 30 minutes away from their service center. My gas vehicles can be serviced anywhere by anyone. Tesla will void your warranty if you take it elsewhere. Anyone really wanting an electric vehicle should choose one of the major automakers. They have locations everywhere and can now use Tesla charging stations. Story 94. I'm on my second electric vehicle. The first was a Peugeot E208. Now I have a Tesla for the range. 90% of our driving is long distance in Europe, traveling between house and pet sits. I find driving the electric vehicle incredibly comfortable and fatigue-free for long distances. The charging infrastructure for Tesla has been faultless, and when using other chargers, which is rare, it works 90% of the time. Recently, I had to start and drive a homeowner's internal combustion engine vehicle to keep the battery up, but I found it like stepping back into the Stone Age, mostly because of the regenerative braking and noise. I'm a self-confessed geek, so I won't be going back. Story 95, only 2 years in, but I love it. 2019 Chevrolet Bolt. We use it for a daily commute and around town driving. Level 2 charger at home means I basically never have to think about the battery. For longer road trips, we just take my husband's gasoline car. I always tell couples that having one electric car and one gasoline car really gives you the best of both worlds. The most underrated perk is how fun one-pedal driving is. Also, high-occupancy vehicle lane access, really hoping that gets renewed. Story 96. 10 years and going. My Fiat 500 e-charges every single night. I drive about 44 miles per day, 1,364 miles a month, and my electric bill portion is about $21 a month for charging my Fiat. I have never had a single problem with it. The few times I have had to drive a gasoline car, I feel like I am going back 20 years. I loved my Toyota Prius and Chevrolet Corvette, but they just feel prehistoric by comparison. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.